here, so I'm gonna hold off.
The one thing we are missing is our sign-in sheet. I said,
I'm great, how are you? What you up to? There's three of us. Might be like me, I don't know anything about it, so.
I don't know anything
I don't
about
either,
it.
I've been trusting Michelle. So far, he hasn't gotten in trouble, so maybe he does. I mean, we talk about stuff, but I haven't put anything.
Well,
You know, I
I'm
do the thing, if
clueless
I
about
catch
how to
you
look
on
at
that.
stuff or go in there and,
Well, this will be good then, cause.
I'll go home and spend the rest of the day looking.
It's probably not that hard. I mean, once we find out, it's probably just going somewhere and clicking on it and gives you options.
I hope it's that easy.
I think it will be. I mean, I do.
It's bad when you have to give your child your device and say,
Fix
"Okay,
this."
figure out what I did on that.
I think the key is to still like play dumb, like even over and again.
Oh, yeah.
My mama was very good at that.
Really?
That was one of her
So
very
they
good
don't
traits.
realize that you
Uh-huh.
know, so maybe they don't take as many steps to try to
It-
cover their
yeah,
tracks.
Yeah.
And then, Mom, how did you know you knew that?
Mhm.
My husband is very computer literate. He travels a lot though, so
See,
I
mine
need to
does
know.
too, yeah.
But he's great, like he fixes all our stuff when it gets messed up.
Yeah, I think that's why I've taken a back seat all these years.
Me too, because
just
it's been
like,
easy.
Go do that.
It's been easy, yeah. Maybe I've absorbed something through osmosis from him. We have to listen to him do stuff. So like if I do this on, cause we have a Kindle, like this is Dixon's Kindle, but it should be the same. So if I just do one device, then I can do this.
The only thing that's bad is that they wait 30 minutes, you know, they really need to start these right
Right,
from
we
school.
drop your child
Yeah.
off.
I got it. Your email. Yes, if you do. If you don't, I'll email you. I'll send you mine. But it's things like portion control, swapping out healthy foods for non-healthy.
Sounds good.
Going to a restaurant, and splitting an entree.
Sounds good.
How are you doing?
Good.
She looks so good.
I know it. I hope this will be our last month of her having to do chemo.
Really? Oh, that would be
Yeah.
super.
We'll do a big scan at the end of the month
Uh-huh.
in, March 27th, so.
Well, I don't see her very much anymore.
I
She's
know,
gotten to
that's
be
great.
Miss Independent.
Yeah.
She doesn't do me anymore.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah, it is.
Because I lived in your office last year.
But I do miss her.
Yeah.
Y'all welcome to get some coffee or some fruit. There's some granola bars over here. TGScott always does a great job of hosting. We're gonna go ahead and get started. If we have some more join us, we will stop and introduce. First of all, I'm Valerie Mercer and I work in technology here. And I have a team of 7 people who work in all of the schools with me. And we're responsible for the really boring stuff like keeping the internet up and running and making sure that the firewalls are working. But we also have some fun aspects of our jobs, like working with kids in terms of devices, bringing in new things like clickers and iPads, iPad minis, those kinds of things into our schools. And one of the things that we noticed about 4 years ago was that if we wanted to keep getting a certain pot of federal money, we need to do a better job with educating our ourselves, and educating our parents, and educating our students about how to stay safe online. So it was a federal requirement, but it's also something that we were hearing from parents and hearing also from our students, sometimes not in a positive way, that they needed to know more about how to behave online. What are things they should be doing? What are things they should not be doing? So, I spent some time at the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and I am GBI trained to do this. So, some of the things that I'm going to share with you today, they're hopefully not going to scare you, okay? But I also think that as much information as we can gather as parents, it always makes us stronger in terms of decision making and in terms of knowing what to do for our children. I have two little girls, they are 8 and 11. And they'll just go ahead and tell you, because I always get this question, well, does your child have a phone? Yes, she does, but it has locks on it, and I'll talk about some of the restrictions that I have set on Ellie's phone. My 8-year-old does not have a phone. Jamie has an iPod, and we have locks on that as well, but she loves FaceTime, and I'll tell you about some of the things like FaceTime roulette and some of the other things that we see on a regular basis at middle school and high school. When we're talking about elementary kids getting into technology, they're just learning what a podcast is. They're just learning how to get their music off of iTunes. Oh, wait a minute, I can get all the Frozen soundtrack, and I can get videos and this and that and whatever. And it's a great, sweet, wonderful thing. And then I spend a lot of time in middle school or at high school dealing with some not very pleasant things. Once they get used to the fact that there's a true independence that comes with the technology. And also, there are so many apps and different things that we have going on these days that make them anonymous. And there's power, and there's strength, and there's getting away with something if you can get by with somebody not knowing what your name is. So, I hope that our short time this morning is going to teach you a little bit. I want to make certain that you walk away with at least one thing that you know to do differently on your phone, or something that you know you want to set up differently for your child's device. So, quickly tell me who you are and who your children are.
All right, I'm Catherine McAteer, and I have Hunt, who is in 2nd grade, and Kate, who's in 3rd grade. And they love an iPod, and they love getting on their dad's iPad. So I'm a little bit nervous because I heard a song the other day, and I was like, and she said, well, so-and-so has it on their iPod on the bus. And so, I thought, ooh.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about some social networks that they probably are asking you, Mama, when can I have a Facebook page? Or when am I? Instagram is a hot thing. Let me tell you about some things I hear with Instagram. I deal with some of the counselors in the county for that. In fact, Melissa and I worked last year on an Ask FM situation. So I'll tell you about Ask FM and what it is, because they're intrigued by that as well. But Instagram is...
Issue paper.
Don't worry. Everything that I'm going to share with you today, including all the videos, are on our website at the district level. So you just go to Technology Services at our website, and you can watch all of the videos that I'm going to show you today. And on top of that, none of the videos that I'm showing you are secret videos. Most of them are from morning news shows, because this seems to be something that's on the periphery for media, but it's not really something until a child something happens. It's not really something that's huge for them. So Ask FM actually is one that's been associated with some major difficulties.
I haven't heard of that one. I've never heard of it.
So
My heart's going like
Is
that.
it-
I am too. I'm starting to go.
Is it a
oh my
new thing? Is it a brand new?
I know Ask FM was really hot last summer. We dealt with it with 9th and 10th graders. That's mainly
So
what
it started with the older ones.
Well,
and
I'll
it's
show you,
trickled
it
down.
actually is a little mini network that hooks onto other networks. So I'll show you how that works. But, tell me who you are.
I'm Flynn Anderson. I have one son. His name is Thorne. He's in 5th grade.
Okay.
He's just turned 11. And his main thing is he loves these apps. Like, this is my iPad, but I'll let him, he's put his games on there. He plays all that. And he does really love YouTube.
Mhm.
And he has an iPod is the only thing. Well, and he got a Kindle for Christmas. So I just need to be more aware of.
Yeah, and I think that should be.
And he's at a big age where things are really gonna start happening.
Yes. When they moved to 6th grade, they're kind of insulated. We put them in an incubator campus. It's really
Yeah.
nice if they're all together at 6th grade and separated from 7th and 8th grade. And then when they move over to 7th and 8th grade, that's when I really see this blossoming of social networking and this blossoming into some of these other things that I'll share with you today. So know that you probably got one more year.
But at least I'm getting involved now to try to
Exactly.
get in there before all that blends.
Right, and we do occasionally see some things happen with some, it's usually straightforward, just plain old texting that happens between, 6th graders. Or it could be, I'll talk to you about some of the texting apps that are out there. And that's one of the things that you'll need to know about, because they ask you for these cute little apps. They look really cute, but when you get into them, you figure out, oh, it does what? So we'll talk about that.
Okay. And he doesn't have a phone yet. He hasn't even asked for one, which is wonderful.
That is wonderful.
But,
My name is Mickey Edwards, and I have a daughter, Emily, just one child, and she's in the 3rd grade. And, she's real big into, she has the iPad, and actually this is hers that my mother bought her. But she has a little small tablet that we bought for her to bring, start bringing to school. She's got an iPod, and she's been bugging me just this week about Instagram. And I don't know anything about Instagram.
I was like, what happened in the 3rd
So
grade?
let's talk about Instagram first.
And she's got the texting app because she wants a phone so bad. And she has created that phone number, and she'll, she can text me, and she'll text her grandma and that kind of thing, but, just what you said, those free texting.
Yeah, we, give away iPods to kids who come to the Getting in Energy Camp in the summertime, and we give those iPods to them. And we give them full freedom because we can't regulate what they do at home on them. So the very first thing they do is put the Magic Jack app on their phones, their iPods, because immediately that makes it a phone. And then they turn around.
We don't even know that thing good.
Oh,
So
what'd you call it now?
Magic Jack app, you remember the old Magic Jack?
I remember the
the,
phone, the
yeah,
red
well,
phone.
the app is how they're actually making a huge living these days. Is you put the Magic Jack app on your phone, there's several others that do it. My 8-year-old has one on her phone. But what is crazy is the fact that I get these phone calls from San Bernardino, California. It's actually Jamie. So any iPod can become a texting or almost like a phone. So the quality of it is not as what would be as good as a cellular network, but if they're on Wi-Fi, they don't care. So let's talk about Instagram, because I've got a couple of things that I'll share with you in video format, but it seems like that's the hot thing. When I see 16-year-olds on Instagram, I feel like, and having been a former high school English teacher myself, we are losing something. When we grew up in the 80s and the 90s, when we went shopping, when we went and picked out some shoes, those were the shoes that we liked. These days they go shopping. They take pictures of these shoes, these shoes, these shoes. The ones with the most likes are the ones that they purchase. What happened to personal choice? What happened to, and that's just a benign example of the shoe business. Imagine some personal choices making. So, Instagram is owned by a larger company, and it still has at the beginning when you go and create an Instagram account, but you need to be 13 years or older in order to have this account. I would stand firm to that, because whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you see high schoolers are really into the Twitter, is what they call it. They like that because it's fast, it's like texting.
Do you need a pen? Do you need a paper?
Yeah.
Do you have an extra?
I'd hate to be hooked up to a heart monitor right now.
I feel like I could cry. I really do, and I'm normally not a worrier.
It's okay, you're
I'm
here.
normally not a worrier, but
Look
all
how
of a
big
sudden
mine
I think, gosh, times are so different.
But you're gonna.
Times are so
Or
different.
my head's really, I'm gonna be pulling my head up out of
They're
that.
not buying kamikaze shirts and parachute pants. They're out buying whatever, and they're doing it because somebody said it was the right thing for them to purchase. Mama probably doesn't even know it because she's so busy figuring out which one is the best deal.
Well, I heard a comment, I think it was yesterday, it was an Andy Stanley comment, he goes, we don't know what we're missing out. I mean, it used to be like when we grew up, we didn't know what we were missing out on, we were perfectly content because we didn't see everybody else's posts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now our kids are seeing everybody else's posts and they're not content because Dave said, well, look what so-and-so did and look what so-and-so did.
Yeah.
Right,
So there's a part of me that says, I don't want my kids to have that for a long time.
and you could say that, but I'm gonna tell you,
But then they
and
don't
this is
use
what I deal with at 9th through 12th grade. Mama finds out because she gets called to the front office that so-and-so and such happened. And she's given her child a smartphone because she wanted to be able to track where her child was. She immediately snatches it out. You are never getting on the internet again until you're 35 years old. That doesn't work because even if she turns around and gives the child a flip phone, if I know the codes, I can use a flip phone for texting just like I use the internet. So if I know the codes to put in front of a text that has some type of data capabilities on it, I can get the weather, I can get formatting of the benign things that you might want to know if you don't have an internet-capable smartphone. But you can take any phone and use it by texting certain numbers to get certain kinds of information, like what's the traffic like, what's the weather like, what's this or that or whatever like. That's what you and I would be using it for. They're using it for other kinds of things. What time's the movie start? What is all that? So to simply give them a flip phone and say, well, here, you can call me if you absolutely need to, and you get 10 texts this month. That won't work. So I think what you're doing is truly getting a little understanding, and you're going to build on that as you go forward, because if you keep the lines of communication open, I think that's paramount to making certain that have to be involved.
I'm gonna meet with you every 6 months.
Well, and I get that a lot. I get phone calls from folks who'll say, you know, I'm thinking about buying, and so what should I? I will tell you this: if you decide or get to the point where it's time to buy your child a phone, make certain that you have a good conversation with whoever the service provider is, because Verizon, T-Mobile, all of those do a great job of giving you information about what your child's doing on their phone. If you want to know who she or he is texting, who they called, if you want to shut it off after 9 o'clock and they can only make phone calls to certain people after 9 o'clock, then you can do that. If you want to see the texting trail of who they're texting, what they're sending in terms of pictures, we'll talk about that in just a minute because there are ways to get around that. Then the Verizon people will definitely do that. If you want a geographic fence, and this is what our high school parents use it for, you can say, I want Valerie to be able to drive, but I don't want her to be able to go outside of the Macon area, or I only want her to stay inside of Monroe County. It'll send you a text alert if that phone goes outside of Monroe County.
So there's some great things.
There are some good things.
Yeah.
There are
It's
some
on
good
that
things.
geographic one.
But here's, but I'm gonna always tell you the other trick, which is these high school kids figure this out. So let's say they go to the basketball game. Oh yeah, they're so smart. Here, I want you to hold my phone because my mama thinks I'm at this game. You just text Y, N, or K if she says anything, okay? Y, N, or K. And then I'll be back later. They get the phone later. They've been gone for 2 hours. Mama thinks they've been where? So, you're right. This generation has anytime, anywhere access. They've never known life with carbon paper, a shakedown thermometer. They don't know what a basic television set was with 2, 5, 11, and 13 on it. No. So, this is a truly different generation. And they have anywhere, anytime access. And we're seeing with some of our older kids, there is that expectation. What do you mean I have to wait until 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock to watch a show? No, I don't. I can just see it anytime I want to on Netflix. Or whatever it is. So the first thing I want to tell you about is geolocating. Oh, that is dark. I think we're going to need that. Let's see if we can do this. No, that doesn't happen.
Don't worry, we'll stay awake.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. So your phone that you have also has geolocate on it. Any phone made after 2005, according to a federal law, has geolocate on it, whether it's a flip phone or a smartphone. It doesn't matter because all of them have the ability with 911 locate to be able to find. But what most people don't know is that the geolocate on a phone can also be a way for people to find you. And that's one of the things that you need to know is because you want to only enable geolocation when the benefits outweigh the risk. In other words, I have it turned on for Find My iPhone. Do you know about that? So that if I lose my phone or if I lose my iPad, and I can see it wherever it happens to be. Okay? So Find My iPhone, Find My iPad is great. But there are lots of apps that turn on geolocate And you wanna make certain that for pictures that you take, that you turn geolocate off. Because any picture that you post online, on Facebook for instance, and it has geolocate turned on, if I know that, or if this is an unsavory character who is targeting a child, for instance, then they'll look at those Facebook pages. Oh yeah, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock she goes to the park. Every Thursday at so and so time she's at dance. Every Monday at 5 whatever she's at piano. If you're recording that kind of live activity on Facebook, but you haven't turned geolocate off on your pictures that you post, that person who sees those pictures can look behind the code and see the exact longitude, latitude, date, and time you took the picture. Pedophiles are using this to track down children. So let's see if I can pull this up.
So is that the thing that, like, when you, sometimes when I try to post
If
a
you are one of
picture,
the millions of smartphone users,
it'll pop up and it'll say, do you want to turn on so-and-so?
You wanna
Yeah.
Allow your location.
Do you want to allow your location?
I always
Yes.
say no, but that's what that is.
That's what that
It's
is.
prompting you to.
But also individual apps that you use might be doing the same thing. We use an app with our kids at middle school called Videolicious. They love it. It's really easy. I can turn around and take quick videos and then put them together. It puts music to it. It really makes it very slick looking very quickly. But in order to make this app operational on our iPads, we have to turn on geolocate. So anybody who watches that video, if they read the code behind the video, can see exactly when we took it and where we took it. So you're right.
What's that called again?
Geolocate.
No, I mean that video.
Oh,
Videolicious.
Videolicious.
That sounds like something
photos online, you may be posting a lot more than just images. Early Show consumer correspondent Susan Copeman is here with a serious warning, and it seems everybody's using their phone to post pictures nowadays.
It's happening all the time. So with the touch of a button, you can show the world your photos, but you can also be revealing information you may not want to share, like the exact location of where you live, work, play, and go on vacation.
There are more than 100 billion photos currently posted online, with thousands being uploaded every minute, from kids to pets, vacations, and graduations. Jennifer Miner is a mom and a blogger who puts up photos all the time.
You're posting pictures of your kids, your home, vacation spots.
Wherever I am, here's the vacation gals.
But what you see online is only half the story.
Most smartphones have a GPS chip built into them. So when you're taking a picture, it actually takes your location and stores it on that photo.
John Rettinger is a technology expert. He says the same technology that helps people see real-time traffic updates and find directions on their phones also leads to GPS coordinates being attached to pictures.
And not only can you know exactly where it was taken, you know exactly the time that the picture was shot.
And all it takes to find someone's location based solely on a picture is the right computer program and just a couple of minutes.
So how easy is it to do this?
Extremely easy. If you know where to look, it's one button to hit download and you are done.
We decided to see just how easy it really is. A producer took pictures of just my face at locations around Los Angeles. We posted them to my Twitter account and asked Rettinger to figure out where I was.
Oh, you were shopping on Rodeo Drive.
I was.
Right outside of the Louis Vuitton store, enjoying the beautiful Southern California weather.
Wow, that's where I was, right there. I was right there.
Just by right-clicking on all of the photos, Rettinger was able to pinpoint my locations.
And here we have your GPS coordinates almost exactly where it was taken. Here we are. Looks like you were in Griffith Park.
I was.
And I can tell that you were right at Grauman's Chinese Theater.
That's exactly where I was. So if you had somebody who had bad intentions out there, they could easily track you.
Absolutely.
With more than 70 million Americans currently using smartphones, smartphone tracking has become a hot-button issue. Just this month, executives from Apple and Google were questioned about it on Capitol Hill. But the good news for smartphone users,
Jump right into your settings.
turning off the location of your pictures
Flip that off. You're done.
is easy.
Oftentimes you just go to settings and it says geolocation and you switch it off. And that is it. That's all you need to do.
What did she do?
That's something Jennifer Miner plans.
Okay, so I just said I'm being just scare you.
Well, Wes and I have always said, you know, like, well, I don't post a lot anyway, but we don't post like vacation photos when we're on vacation.
Yes, there's actually
Yeah.
there is actually a website called, let me think, what is it called? I think they shut it down. Look, we know you were on vacation. And it's basically put out there for people who are going to steal.
Steal your stuff.
Yes. Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
I think it's down
So
now.
that is the one thing that,
Yeah, they should
I
do
wanted to
that.
say we've done one thing.
Yeah.
So, under settings, you can change that on your cell phone. If you, don't have an Apple phone on a Droid, it actually is, actually is really good too. So it's under data settings, on a Droid, or more settings.
And under iPhone, it's under,
Settings.
So still go to
Privacy.
settings on a Droid?
You go to settings on a Droid, and under Droid, it's under location settings.
and location services.
Yes. And so you just want to turn it off for things like specific apps or for the camera that you have. Because if you turn it off for all of it, you won't be able to use Find My iPhone.
Well,
You won't be able to use Maps. I don't know about you all, but I used it for last week I had to go to a school system in Kentucky. And from Nashville to Kentucky to Bowling Green. It's me and my phone getting me there, so.
So what
So
is
like
it
for
that we
camera,
turn
you would
off?
turn it off.
Yes, for camera, you would turn it off.
Is yours on?
So on a Droid,
It's a Droid.
Okay.
Now, what are you saying turn off under your security location?
so under mine where it says access to my location, you turn it off. You may have to turn it on if you want the weather or if you wanted to, some apps like sports apps are really strong with, they know you're in a stadium, so they'll immediately start pushing you immediately information about that game. ESPN Sports Center does it. Geolocate is automatically happening on that app. Once you walk into a hockey game or whatever you're going to, basketball, it automatically knows to start pushing information to you about that game.
So is it the Verizon location services or the GPS that you?
Well, your GPS is what you're going to use. First of all, if you turn off both of those, you will see an immediate improvement in your battery life. Because on the Droid, that's a stronger signal than what's actually happening on the Apple products. So if you turn both of those off, then you'll see your battery life tremendously improve.
But you want to keep those off?
You want to keep those off, and then only if you're using things like Maps or something like that would you want to even turn it on. So another thing we deal with kids is the fact that they have an audience all the time. And I think it's reaching to what you were talking about a while ago, is that they, this business of 15 minutes of fame, not really. It depends on what app you're using that day. What we try to share with kids is the fact that you don't really know who will see your information. And we start this as young as 3rd grade here in the computer lab with Mr. Batchelor. He talks to them about the fact that even if you're going online, that person you see who may say they're talking to you or approaching you may not be another 12-year-old child or may not be another 11-year-old child. It may be a 37-year-old man somewhere. So when is it okay for your child to have a social media account? And as you can see, I've got Instagram up top because that's the one that seems to be hot when it comes to tweens and preteens. The rules for it say that it's 13. There's a case in federal court these days sitting there waiting for the next level because there are parents who are suing Facebook. The child went online, got a Facebook account. She is nowhere near 16 years old, but that's what she put in there as her profile age. But because she said she was 16, and she did some other things on there, she was immediately approached by people who were trying to solicit something from her. So her parents have now taken it to federal court to try to take it as a class action, leading a class action. There are other parents who are getting involved in it. I do not think it will stand because the child went online, signed an agreement basically to get an account, and basically didn't follow the terms of the agreement. With all of these networks, whether it's Flickr or Foursquare, Facebook, all of these things, the photos can turn around and be uploaded to Instagram at the same time. So It used to be 10 years ago, 7 years ago, even 5 years ago, that you just had one account, Facebook. But now, Facebook is the old people's social network. It left. They probably still have, our high schooler kids, they still have a Facebook account, but they probably have another account Mama knows nothing about. Or they don't hardly ever use that Facebook account. They have it hooked to their Twitter, they have it hooked to their Instagram. Very occasionally I will see over the Wi-Fi at the high school, I'll see people using Foursquare, but for the most part, it's not really something they're interested in. It's
So
just
what is the newest?
Foursquare, okay, the newest one, and I'll show you that one in just a minute. They love some apps called Kicksedge. They love an app called Snapchat. You probably never heard of Snapchat. Well, let's roll on over.
I have, because of my best friend's 14-year-old son.
There you go.
That has caused some problems.
Yes. So, let's talk about Snapchat. This is the app icon. Isn't that cute?
I have seen that, and I mean, I've seen it on TV or something when this came out.
Yeah. So it's free. And there are several copycat apps that work just like it. One's called Wink, another's called SnapPic, another is basically what the original version or intent of Poke was in Facebook. So let's talk about how Snapchat works. Let's pretend you and I are 14-year-old kids, okay? You send a selfie of me, of yourself. Take a picture of it. I have Snapchat, you have Snapchat. We do it over Snapchat. 30 minutes after I receive it, poof, it disintegrates. It's no longer on my phone. I send you a text. You receive my text. 10 seconds after you receive my text, it poof, disappears from the phone. What do children think automatically that goes
They can do anything they want.
Exactly.
Nobody's ever seen it.
So, in my side job, I do forensics. And 10 years ago, my job was forensics in terms of computer hard drives. I don't make a lot of money off of that anymore. I don't have time to do much of any of it anymore. But the hot place or the hot way to make money these days is by taking a phone like this or this, hooking it up to a hard drive, and pulling off those quote-unquote disappeared.
So they're still there somewhere.
They are still there.
The
Just like the old-fashioned way of you and I would take a Word document and make it, and at the end you could change it from a .doc to something else, and then you'd never be able to read it with Word. It's the same way with Snapchat. Those pictures are still on the phone, the texts are still on the phone, but they're not identified as a way for Snapchat or any of those regular apps to be able to read them. It is a field day for law enforcement. Field day. But just as fast as they can keep going to de-encrypt or take away the encryption for those files, the app creators are turning around and creating structured, more and more stiffer ways to hide this stuff. When I talk to 9th graders, and it's my job to talk to them the last week of school, you can imagine that 9th graders are not exactly focused the last week of school. But when we talk about Snapchat and the fact that I can get to their pictures, or the fact that we can get to, with a quick call to law enforcement, they can get to the pictures, they immediately pop up and pay attention. So there's this urban legend that's weaving throughout those grades and those ages that they can get away with whatever they want to. Snapchat was a starter app. There are lots of other ones that are forthcoming onto the market. So, it looks cute, but it's anything but. As I told one parent, I find no educational merit whatsoever for Snapchat. Kicksedge is another one.
Now to the latest app that has caught fire with teens. It's called Snapchat. You know, the appeal is, it says you can share a snapshot with friends without any risk of an embarrassing viral moment because the photo's programmed to vanish seconds after it's set. But is it encouraging kids to send inappropriate photos that actually won't disappear? ABC's Lindsay Davis has more on the controversy.
This message will self-destruct in 30 seconds.
It's technology right out of an Inspector Gadget episode. Teens everywhere believe they're sending their own self-destructing messages online with an app called Snapchat. The photos you snap and then share with your friends allegedly disappear in just seconds.
Yeah, that's like kind of the appeal. because the fun of it's to send embarrassing pictures.
Yeah.
Texting's made for words, but now that there's Snapchat's like, okay, now we can communicate with pictures.
With that belief that there's no permanent record of the photo, the Snapchat community has shared more than 1 billion snaps since the app was first introduced in July.
30,688
It's about a year old.
13,469.
Worldwide, more than 20 million different, sometimes compromising, embarrassing, and yes, even explicit photos are shared every day.
You've never received a picture?
I've gotten one, but like I just asked the person, I was like, what are you doing? Like this is gross.
Yeah, like it's like
It's just unnecessary.
Like a mail?
Yeah.
Like
we wouldn't think to use it like that.
A self-deleting picture app is something some celebrities might appreciate. Like Prince Harry. What if his infamous TMZ photos in Vegas were stripped away as instantly as his clothes were?
The picture was of me, and I sent it.
Or if Anthony Weiner's boxers had only been on the screen briefly.
In addition to pictures, you can also take video and then send it to your
friends. It works much the same way, and then in theory, in just seconds, it's gone. Yet, it turns out with Snapchat and Poke, a similar app through Facebook, the videos don't actually vanish as advertised.
People who are using this and thinking that no one else will see their pictures or that no one else will see their videos are kidding themselves. You can take screenshots, you can take a picture of your phone with another camera. There are all kinds of ways to save those pictures.
Like everyone has this fear that everything online is permanent, so that's the point of this, but you know, having the ability to take a screenshot really defeats the whole purpose of Snapchat.
We reached out to Snapchat for comment, but did not hear back. The takeaway here, if you want something to be private, don't share it. Get the picture. For Good Morning America, Lindsay Davis, ABC News, New York.
Okay, so hopefully you can have some conversations because Snapchat is not going away. And in fact, it's the basis for a lot of other apps that are coming into our lives. The fastest growing population using Snapchat, they're not teenagers these days, they're adults.
Really?
Yeah. Well, teenagers set the standard for it. They started a trend. And now they're adults who would like to get away with things, and supposedly a spouse or somebody does not see those things. And so Snapchat and some other apps like that are ones that they use. So, questions for me about Snapchat? To me,
I would tell my children on everything, Miss Valerie Mercer said you can't have it.
Well, Valerie said that she couldn't find any educational merit. That's what I try to use as my term, because I certainly don't want to say what households should or should not do. That's really a personal choice you all have. But to say that this is a quality app that a child should be spending quality time with, I can't say that. There are lots of other ways that they could be texting or talking to each other. So Ask.fm is another one you will want to know about. It's a website that allows kids to ask each other questions, and that's what it was originally started for. So we're all on the same network. We know each other in terms of knowing that we're all in the same network, but we want to be able to ask each other some questions, like, why did you wear blah, 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 blah on so-and-so day with so-and-so? Or, why does your grandmother always pick you up on so-and-so day? Okay? We want to ask that question and get the answer, and we'd all get the answers, but the original person asking or the original person answering does not know who asked the question. If you asked me that question, you would know it's somebody on this network, but you don't know exactly who asked the question. And so that can get to be, number one, nerve-wracking. But number two, they don't ask questions of each other after a certain amount of time. They use it as a way to basically go behind the curtain and say ugly things about each other without each other knowing who's the person behind the curtain.
Why even go there?
Do you have to give people access?
You do. You do have to give each other access. You'd have to get on it. I would have to get on it. We both have to get on Ask.fm. And for some reason, I can't tell you why kids gravitate to certain apps, but they do. This is one that the app company has finally come under fire, and they have started toning down the anonymity in it. But anonymity is what's really enthralling or appealing to kids. They really are just the ability to say and do whatever they want because they know there's so much tracking them. There's never before, excuse the
So you
commercial.
can start writing the great American novel. So you can happily let life get
Where do you
away.
look to see if you got that?
So Ask FM shows up as an app on your phone. It actually can show up as an extension if you're on Facebook, and if you look in the listing underneath your name and you've got the different networks that you belong to on Facebook. Ask FM is actually an add-on app that you can actually see in your listing. You can actually add. So you can make it a part of Facebook or it can be separate.
It's up in arms. Ask FM is a wildly popular social networking site that has now been reportedly linked to 5 suicides among teens. ABC's Bianca Ladriga has more on the site that critics say is facilitating online bullying.
Social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are ubiquitous favorites for teens, where they share photos, tips on homework, or just plain gossip. Now the latest place to share? Ask.fm, a site where teens can post anonymously without the prying eyes of parents. Molly Cannon remembers the day she first logged on.
It started off when everyone was just like, oh, ask me questions on my Ask.
But quickly, Molly says those innocent questions turned into brutal verbal assaults.
Slowly it got worse and worse. I would definitely just be sitting in my bed and I would cry.
And she's not alone. In just the past year, some 6.3 million visitors, many of them young teens, have logged onto the site as a way to bond with other teens, but also opening themselves up to anonymous bullying.
Teens look at that as an opportunity to do things they would never otherwise feel comfortable doing.
The website, which is also popular in Europe, has been mentioned in press reports in connection with at least 14 suicides in the UK and Ireland. And here in the US, 16-year-old Jessica Laney's best friend said Jessica took her own life after relentless online attacks. Ask.fm users posting vicious messages like, drink bleach, go get cancer, and go die. However, the local sheriff's office says neither they, her parents, boyfriend, or school district were aware of any bullying in her life.
It is a dangerous thing for some teenagers to go on these sites because they are met with such hostility and such ugly statements.
Outraged parents are pressuring Ask.fm for more accountability. And Ask.fm is listening. In an open letter, the company said, quote, "We are committed to ensuring that our site is a safe environment. We have implemented various measures over the past months to continue to improve our user safety." For Good Morning America, Bianca Ladriga, ABC News, New York.
And all of us here are talking about how scary it is as a parent, and we want to bring in now Dr. Janet Taylor, a psychiatrist.
So what Dr. Janet Taylor is going to talk about